So the good news is, one of our favourite starting positions for this evening, actually going to lie down onto the floor. You want to be towards the front end of the mat, plenty of room behind. And just as you lay down onto the ground, that your knees come towards you, take your hands on top of the kneecaps and just allow yourself to stir the knees around. The idea is to get a little bit of movement into the hips themselves, but also a little bit into that pelvis, rocking it around gently. Just gradually letting those circles get bigger and bigger. You can go in different directions with the legs or the same direction. It really is up to you. And then allow yourself to have a little reversing up. Bring the feet down to the ground close to your bottom from the center line. The arms out in line with the chest. Remember, your chest is lower than your shoulders, and your shoulders are lower than your head. So you should be able to look out and see them to the side fairly easily. We'll shimmy the hips over towards the left and let the legs go down to the right. Really try to relax the body into the pose. The idea of these first few twists is to really make them passive and let go. And just see where your body stretches and opens to. In particular, noticing if there's tightness between one side and the other. So the more passive you are able to allow that stretch to be, the more information you can gather. And we'll lift back up again. Center first. Shimmy to the opposite side. Bring the legs down. Again. Try to be as passive as you can. Not worrying too much if your legs dropped onto your block and it's kind of in the way. It doesn't really matter because we're just relaxing into it. We'll come back into the center. And as you arrive, allow yourself to lengthen your legs down the center line of the mat. Bring the hands alongside your body, palms face down. So put the shoulders underneath, the hips out a little bit. And then squeezing the legs together slightly, point the toes away from you pointedly, just until you can feel the muscles around your knees starting to lift and engage. On the inhale, draw your hands up towards the sky. And on the exhale, let the hands drift towards the back of the mat behind you. And for most of us, we'll a little bit tight in the shoulders, the ribs will flare towards the sky. Inhale up and allow yourself to exhale the hands back down on the side of your body. We'll do that two more times, so 3 in total, lifting up. And using the exhale to drop down, just trying to get the arms as close to the floor as we can. We're trying to keep the relaxed wrist as well. Inhaling back up. Toes are still pointing away. Hands down by the side of the body as we exhale. One more time to lift up. So we're going to change that up a little bit. So we bring the hands back down towards the hips. We're still going to draw the hands up as we breathe in, pointing the toes away. But as we exhale, we're going to draw the ribs and the spine down to the floor. So we deepen the stretch into the back of the shoulders. As we inhale up, we'll flex the toes towards us and press out through the heels, pressing the heels and the calves down to the floor. Point your toes away again as you inhale, lift your hands over your body, and then down to the floor behind, drawing the ribs down again. So we're going to take 5 of these all together. This will be number 2 as we come back, flexing the toes as you bring your hands towards your hips. Point your toes as you're inhaling up, ribs down, zipping the ribs towards your hips and the shoulders relaxing up. Inhale up, flex the toes towards you as you exhale the hands down. Number 4, lifting up. This will be number 5, point and lengthen, lift up. There you work on drawing the ribs down, the arms will find the floor anyway. Lifting up, we flex the toes towards us. And bring the hands alongside the body. Slide the heels back in towards the bottom on the center line, keeping the knees together and high. And extend the left leg up towards the sky, just flexing the foot towards us, turning the toes out. I'm going to bend the knee to come into figure 4, so the ankle goes to the outside of that right thigh. Foot flexed on the left and knee pointing towards the floor. We come onto the tippy toes of the right foot, drawing your belly to the ground, taking your left hand through the center of your legs, right hand around the outside of your right thigh, holding the shin or the back of the leg. Try to keep the spine very flat to the floor. Consider your neck position as well. Now we release on the breath in. Extend the leg up towards the sky. Give a little shake and bring the foot back down. Take another breath in, lifting the right leg up and turning the toes out. Using the exhale to bend the knee and bring the ankle into position. Flexing the foot as you inhale, come up onto the tippy toes, draw the belly in. Use the left leg to draw the legs to view. Right hand through the center, left hand around the outside. You decide whether you want to work on the back of the thigh or the shin. Try to allow the tailbone down to the floor. Again, we'll release on the inhale, stretching the leg to the sky. We'll bring both knees in towards the chest. Give ourselves a little hug. This time we'll bring the chin towards the chest, round the spine deliberately. Allow ourselves to roll onto our right side, using the hands to press into the floor, just bringing ourselves back up. We'll take the feet towards the back of the mat, bring ourselves up onto the floors. As we arrive, make sure the knees are about hip distance apart. Tuck the toes underneath, allow yourself to sit back. Ideally, you end up sitting on your heels because your knees are the same distance apart as your sitting bones. Your heels just press in. Try and have the feet as upright as you can rather than letting them roll out to the side. So foot shape starts to come into that. We'll take the arms out wide a little, in line with the chest, and then just bring that right arm across as we lock. Left arm underneath, bring across chest into a surface stretch.
Allow yourself to lift up, untuck the toes, and sit all the way back down onto the heels, bootlaces down as you float the arms out, and then cross them over the opposite way. We'll float the arms high. Press into the shins, we lift ourselves up. Get into a little bit of a back bend. Bring the hands in towards your heart. Allow yourself to hinge to the floor as you bring your hands down towards the very front of the mat. Allow yourself to tuck the toes underneath, lift into your down dog. Wriggling around in your down dog if that feels good, or being still if you need to, making sure there's a gap underneath your heels to give you space to move into. And keeping the hands very flat to the floor with hopefully the fingers nicely spread. Just spreading the weight out as much as we can. We're lifting the hips high and back. Again, trying to open the shoulders out a little bit. Sometimes you can turn the armpits towards the ground a little bit. You'll feel a little bit more space around the back of your shoulders. I'll take a breath here and walk the hands in towards the feet. So coming into our first forward bend, standing version. Keep your fingertips on the floor as you walk all the way back. Take as much bend in your knees as you need. If you've been sitting a lot today, you possibly need a bit more bend in your knees than you would normally. Let the head hang. We'll take a couple more breaths here, just pressing the feet gently down into the floor, checking they're parallel. But the toes aren't sort of gripping on, they want to be relaxed. We can bring the hands onto the shins and lift up halfway as we breathe in. Lengthen the chest forwards and the shoulders back, make some space. Allow ourselves to hinge again, getting the ribs and thighs a little closer as we come in. Hands onto the shins, we lift up. On the exhale, we fall down. We'll come one more time. And down to the floor. Hands onto the hips this time and lengthen the body out, soft knees, and let ourselves lift up. Take the hands high, bring them together. Interlace the hands, point the index finger out and take ourselves into another little back bend. Bring the hands in towards the heart and hinge down to the floor. Hands to the ground, we're walking through to the front of the mat into down dog. We're going to take the twisted version, so we'll take the feet out as wide as the mat and then just adjust the hands back enough to bring the heels gently to the floor, just a little bit of weight with straight legs. I'm going to take the left hand to the outside right ankle, twist the body underneath, press the hips back, and draw the belly in. 5 breaths here. Hands to the floor again. We'll take 5 to the opposite side. Last breath. Exhale. Bring the hands flat to the ground again. Walk yourself up to the front edge of the mat into your down dog. Bring your feet back in. Allow yourself to come back onto all fours. Turn the palms towards you, fingers towards you, thumbs out. Allow yourself to slowly sit back. Now, because of the starting position, the hands a lot further away than normal position that we do this in. So it's unlikely that you'll get your bottom all the way to your heels, but you want to keep the heel of your hand on the floor irrespective. So it's getting a deeper angle in there for most of us. Keeping the belly drawn in a little bit. Kind of finding that happy place between sitting back and holding ourselves up. Take a last little breath and then push the knees into the floor and the shins to lift ourselves back so the shoulders are over the wrists. Turn the hands the opposite way. We'll keep the hips where they are, above the knees. Walk the hands out about shoulder distance apart. Let the chest sink to the floor into melting heart pose. Actually pressing down into the hands, drawing the belly in and sinking your tailbone back. Allow yourself to stretch your toes towards the back of the mat. Press your shins towards the ground. Keep your head in line with the rest of your body. Ideally, your ears stay in line with your arms. Fingers back, just to move the weight past the hips a little bit. And then it's easier to bring ourselves up onto all fours. And take a breath and lift ourselves into our down dog. Allow the feet to be hip distance apart. Now allow yourself to soften your elbows to the floor one at a time to come into dolphin pose. I would suggest bringing the hands together and lifting, interlacing the fingers with the little finger tucked under. Hips are high. We're going to take a breath, lift the hips up a little more, come up onto the tippy toes. Walk the feet in just a little bit further. Try to keep your shoulders over your wrists and your head away from the floor as you lift up. Really pressing down on those arms, you're going to feel the shoulders kind of lengthening out. Last breath. And we'll start to walk the toes back. It's more or less the starting position of where we were in our down dog. And the shoulders a little bit further back. Now this time we'll come forwards into a plank. And let ourselves sink down till our nose touches the floor. Chest is almost onto your forearms. And then you press back up into that dolphin pose. And come forwards again. I'm starting to drown in my t-shirt. There's only 5 of these. I'll be 2. 3. Pushing back as far as you can. Coming forwards for 4. And number 5. Pushing back for the last time. Whew, knees to the floor. Allow yourself to sit down onto your heels. Sitting up tall, we're going to take the hands behind the back and interlace the hands. And then lift the chest up towards the sky. Squeeze the shoulders just a little bit towards each other. Let the chin kind of follow the heart. So we're not dropping the head completely back, but it's kind of lengthening out. Drawing the hands towards the ground. We can release. Ooh, bring the hands forwards again to the front of the mat. Allow ourselves to move into down dog. We're going to walk the feet to about halfway down the mat. Walk the hands halfway down to meet your toes. Bring your hands onto your hips. Soften your knees and let yourself lift up. We're going to wiggle the feet together so the big toes touch. Find a point to focus on that doesn't move. Allow yourself to load your weight into your left leg. And slowly bring your right knee high. Get the hands around the shin. Draw the knee towards you. Try not to lean back. Try and keep the shoulders down. So just using the arm strength and the shoulders rather than lifting everything in towards your body. One more breath. And then that foot can come down to the floor. We'll swap over to the opposite side, so shifting the weight gently. Take your time to lift your leg. Keep your hips pointing the same direction as your shoulders and that front leg that's standing on the ground. And draw the knee towards you. And again, we'll let that foot gently down to the floor. Shake out the ankles a little bit. So bring the feet together again. Again, find that focus point. Let the hands be in towards your heart. Load into your left leg. So we're going to bring the right knee to about the height of the hip. And then bring the heel in towards your bottom. So the calf and the thigh squeeze together. Take your right hand down. See if you can find your ankle. And then once you've got hold of that, allow yourself to draw your knee down to the floor and see if you can bring the thighs together. Slowly expand your left hand towards the sky. Try and keep your heel in towards your bottom. Press your knee down to the floor. Fingertips left. Standing leg drives down. Press your tailbone down to the floor. Just that little bit. Last breath in. Feet to the ground, hands come down. The last side. There's a tendency for the pelvis to kind of tilt, so it feels like the top of your waist moves forwards a little bit. So if you drive your tailbone down, it will draw the hips back in, a little like we did on that first move on the ground. So allow yourself to slowly shift your weight, lift your knee, bring in the heel, find your hands onto the ankle, ease the knee down to the floor. You start to notice the tilt of the pelvis at that point. Extend the right hand up. Allow yourself to press your knee down towards the floor. Tilt the pelvis, so tailbone down. Draw up through the fingertips. Press the foot into the ground. Try and keep thigh next to thigh. Knee next to knee. And we'll release from there. Bring the feet back down to the floor. Hands come back down. We'll step out to about feet hip distance apart. Swing the arms up towards the sky as we breathe in. Bring the hands through the heart. Hinge at the hips. Down to the floor. And take a little breath and let yourself to squat deep until you think your bottom is more or less lined with your knees, or as low as you can get to that point. Then take the hands away from the floor and lengthen out. Hands in line with the torso, ribs against thighs. Keep the bottom as low as you can. The belly drawn in on an exhale. Allow your body to lift up to that sort of 45-degree angle. Lean forwards a little bit, come up onto your tippy toes. Now carefully start to turn the palms down. Bring the hands out more in line with your shoulders. So no longer in line with your body, but parallel to the ground. Allow yourself to sink your bottom down a little further, until you think your bottom is as low as your knees are from the floor. And then bring the hands down to the ground. Let ourselves all the way down to the floor. Take a little breath from there. Take the hands behind. Send the legs out towards the front of the mat. Shimmy a little bit towards the front of the mat. Use your hands behind to support you as you roll down to the floor. So take the hands high above your chest, palms facing in. Going to alternate the legs and arms. So start to draw your belly down toward your spine and the spine to the floor. Tiptoes, knees then come over the hips. Draw the belly down again just to reaffirm the feeling. Extend the legs towards the sky, straight as you can. Take a breath in. Right arm, left leg go down towards the floor. They don't quite touch. Lift them back up. It's a judgment call as to how low you go. If you do bounce, don't worry. Not the end of the world. But we're trying not to bounce and rest. We want to keep the legs and the arms straight. So actually lengthen out from both at the same time. And try and move with your breath. So we've got about another 30 seconds plus. We're just alternating the legs and arms. Just 10 seconds. Not sure if it helps to know. And last side. Keep the legs high. Let the hands drop to the floor behind, much as we did before, but take the arms out wide like scarecrows. Press the shoulder blades into the ground. Draw your ribs down. Lower spine to the floor. Eyes still open. Legs straight above the hips or as close as you can. And take the legs out to the point 45 degrees away. Just as they start to leave your peripheral vision, bring them back up again. Again, move slowly. Keeping the upper body pressed flat to the floor. Awesome. Toes high again. Allow yourself to take your hands around the back of your head. Bring your chin in towards your chest. Allow yourself to lift your chest towards your legs. Take the hands out for a half boat pose. So we're going to let the legs come down about halfway. Spread out through the toes. Also to lift back up. Hands behind the head. Roll into the floor. Woo. Eventually bring the feet back down to the floor. Some breath. And roll over to the right side. Hands into the floor. Slide around on the bottom. Feet towards the back of the mat. Hands towards the front of the mat. Allow yourself to sit back onto your heels. This time we'll take eagle arms. So arms come out in line with the chest. And we'll bring the left arm, right arm over the top, bend at the elbows. Keep the elbows high, in line with the line of the shoulder, parallel to the ground. Forearms vertical. Press down through your shins to lift up. Release your arms out. Tuck the toes under as you cross the arms over the opposite way. Sit back onto the heels. That toe stretch. I honestly can't remember what comes next. So I'm going to come to all fours just so I can turn the page over and look at page 2. Good news is we're on page 2. Tucking the toes underneath. Whew. Lift up into down dog. Just walk your hands in towards your toes. Bring hands onto your hips. Allow yourself to soften the knees and lift up. Shake it all out as we walk into the front of the mat. Just check the feet start in position close to the front of the mat, your distance apart and parallel. Take the hands higher on the breath in, bring the palms together above the head and then towards the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. Take a breath as we arrive. And send the right foot back into lunge. Drop the heel onto the center line of the mat, ready for your warrior 2 to lift. Allow yourself to take the right hand forwards and lift up. Inhale the hands high. Lengthen out slowly towards the front of the mat, bringing the hands down. As your hands reach the floor, spin the heel of the back foot towards the sky and lift your left hand up into a twist, opening the body. Bring a hand back down to the floor. You have to come onto the fingertips as you breathe in. Bring the palms down to the ground again. Take the right arm up into the twist, slightly trickier side. Hands come down to the floor. Step back into that down dog. Take a breath in at the top. Use the exhale to come into the plank. A sneaky breath in, and then use a exhale for the half plank. Bootlaces down. Inhale for the up dog. Follow strong legs. Lift the hips high to your down dog. Over your right leg to the sky. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Bring your foot through to the front of the mat into lunge. Take a little breath. Press off the toes into your forward bend. Bring your hands to your hips. Soft knees and a flat back to lift. Take hands high again. Breath in. Hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. Breath in. With the exhale to send the left foot to back. Drop the heel in again. Ready for your warrior 2. Hands alongside. Lift. Allow the arm to float up. Keeping the front knee over the heel the whole time. Inhale the hands high. Lengthen out slowly. Use the whole of the breath to come down. Spin the heel on the back foot high. Right arm lifts into the twist. Breath in. Hand comes to the floor. Exhale. Fingertips to the lift. Breath. Hands to the floor as you exhale. Inhale. Left arm up. Hand to the ground. Step back into your down dog. Breath in. Exhale into your down. Half plank. Eventually. And now lift up to your up dog. Roll the hips back and up to the sky. Sit your left leg high. Draw the knee in towards your chest. So through to the front of the mat. Make space. Push off the back toes. Forward bend and drop in deep. Hands over the hips. Soft knees, flat back to lift. Inhale high. Hands to the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Right foot back. Lunge. Heel drops in, lifting to warrior 2. Inhale on the way up. Float the arms overhead. Extend out on the exhale to the floor. Step back into your down dog. Draw right leg into a scissor. And take the foot to the outside of your right hand. Press back into your down dog. Oops, didn't need to do that. And scissor your left leg. Draw the knee in and take your left foot outside of the left hand. Step back into your down dog. Into your plank, half plank, to up dog. Back into that final down dog. Scissor your right leg high. Bring the foot through to the front of the mat. Allow yourself to step gently into your forward bend. Hands onto your hips. Allow yourself to lift. Inhale high and through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Left foot back and drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body. Allow yourself to lift. Inhale the hands high, lengthen out slow, down to the ground. Step it back into your down dog. Scissor your left leg. Knee towards the body, foot to the outside of the hand, forwards into lizard. Press back into your down dog. Scissor your right leg high, knee into the body, foot to the outside of the hand as you come forwards. Press back into your down dog. Come forwards into plank, half plank, up dog. Allow yourself to scissor your left leg, knee in towards the body, through for lunge. Press off the toes into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips, allow yourself to lift up. Inhale high, hands into the heart, and exhale down to the floor. Let's take a breath. Send the right foot back into lunge. Drop the heel in. Allow ourselves to open up into our warrior two. Float the hands high. Down to the floor we go. Stepping back into down dog. Come forwards into plank. Allow yourself to lift your right leg to the height of your shoulders. Then bend your knee. Going to flip that over towards the left side and open the chest into a flip dog. We'll come back into the plank, extend the leg out, bring the foot down to the floor. Left leg lifts into the three-legged plank, knee bends. We flip on the foot to the side plank and open up into the flip dog. We come back into plank, half plank, up dog, back into down dog. This is the right leg high, knee towards the chest, foot through for the lunge. And press off the toes, forward bend. Hands onto the hips, lift. Inhale high, second side. Hand through the heart and down to the floor. Take a breath. Step the left foot back, heel drops in. Hands alongside the body to lift. Warrior two. Hands come high, lengthen out. Slow down to the floor. Stepping back. Down dog. Come forwards into plank. Lift the left leg, height of the shoulder, bend the knee. Roll it into the side plank to the right, flip it over. Open the chest. Back into the plank. Whoops. We'll start a little bit there. Lifting the right leg to the bent knee. Rolling across, flipping to the opposite side. Coming back into the plank. Half plank. To up dog. To down dog. Scissor the left leg. Move towards the chest and through. Take a little breath and press into that forward standing bend. Hands to the hips. Let ourselves lift up. Whew. Hands high. Through heart. down to the floor. A simple, simple step back into down dog. I just can't get the words out this evening. Into plank and knees down to the floor. Whew. Then sit back onto the heels. Take that flat block and just park that behind your feet. Hands in towards your heart. So close your eyes. Sit tall. Now just focus on pressing the sitting bone down and lifting the crown of the head high. Keep the belly drawn in a little bit. Allow the breath to be more into the side ribs in the chest. And then let yourself relax your body a little more. We'll take the hands forwards and lean into that, just tucking the toes underneath. Allow the feet to be the same distance apart as the corner edges of the mat. And we'll turn the toes out gradually once we've arrived and we feel safe into the deepest squat we can. Allow yourself to press your tailbone down and lift the crown of the head high. As you feel your spine lengthening out, you can ease your fingers in towards you as you get more comfortable into the pose. And when you're ready, you can bring your hands in towards your heart, start to draw the shoulders back even more. Let those arms and legs work into each other, so they're starting to press. It's a little bit warm and sticky this evening, so you might find that your legs and your arms slide around a little bit. So if you are a heavy sweater, just allow yourself to grab something, maybe your top, just wipe the back of your arms and the inside of your legs a little bit, because we'll be coming into crow pose. And although you want them to be a little bit moist, you don't want them absolutely dripping. If you're doing this in the middle of the winter, that probably won't be a problem. Okay, we're going to bring the hands forwards about shoulder distance apart, palms facing towards the front of the mat. We'll let the body kind of sink down a little bit. We're rounding the spine down to bring those knees as close up into the top of the armpits as we can, and then press the knees in and the shoulders out. Now, once you've got that connection, allow yourself to draw your tummy muscles in and lift your heels off of the block, and then start to bring your bottom towards the sky. And lean forwards a little bit so you can come onto the tippy toes. So you're already in crow pose. The choice for you is to whether you want to take 1 foot at a time away from the ground, or come in with both feet and squeeze the heels towards your bottom, lifting the hips high. And then bring the feet down to the floor. Hopefully landing somewhere near the block into your squat. So you may or may not have got up. Maybe you got up for the sort of a fraction of a second, just sort of really finding your balance. And although the hands are flat, they do tend to lift a little bit as you move into the pose. So don't worry about if your hands are sort of rolling around. They want to be able to sort of grip into the floor for you. Hand strength and wrist strength obviously quite key in that pose. We'll take one more go at it. So again, let yourself sort of sink in, get into that slightly more rounded position, and get the knees really high into the back of the armpit. So we'll move around as you lift. Hands about shoulder distance apart, as we said before. In your own time, lift the heels away from the ground. Draw the belly in. Take a breath. Allow yourself to lift the hips high. Transfer the weight into the hands. Lifting 1 foot or maybe 2 feet. And then feet down. Whew. Take a little breath. Hands behind. feet out in front, or back down to the floor. Use the hands behind a little bit as we shift the bottom further forwards, spine down to the ground. Move the block initially to the back of the head, so out from underneath the neck and the shoulders. And let the arms go out wide. Okay, we're going to take a shift of the hips over towards the left. Let the legs go down to the right. Now, if your leg or your bottom leg is able to get to the ground and your shoulders are on the floor, you can take it the next step. Otherwise, you stay here. This is as much as your back needs to do. But if you are able to keep your shoulders and legs down, draw the knees a little closer in towards you. And then start to extend the feet out to the long side of the mat, 90 degrees-ish to the body. Press out through the heels, flex the feet towards you, and try to squeeze the top thigh onto the bottom one. And then breathe. It would appear this is tricky to breathe in and talk at the same time. I'll bend the knees, bring the legs back, bring yourself back into the center. So note of caution, just because you manage to get the legs down to one side doesn't mean that you will be able to on the other side. And if that happens, then you stay in that sort of first primary phase that we talked about. It's only if you can get the shoulders to the floor and the legs on the ground together that you can move into the second phase. So it's okay to do one side differently to the other. Just knowing that your body will eventually open up and get there, but it can take time. We'll move over towards the right with the hips, drop the legs down towards the left. Just let ourselves settle in, make sure we're comfortable with where we're committed to being. Second phase, if we're taking it, would be to squeeze the knees a little more in towards the body and to the side. And the first phase would be to extend the legs out to the side. Squeezing the thighs together, pressing out through the heels, feet flex towards us. We'll bring the knees back in, and then lift the knees, bring ourselves back into the center. We're going to allow ourselves to take that block from behind the head and put it between the thighs. So squeezing in with your knees. Allow yourself to judge without looking your heels directly underneath your knees and with vertical shin. So allow yourself to feel it with your eyes closed. Have the heels very slightly turned out, toes very slightly in. Allow yourself to squeeze the block with just a couple of pounds of pressure. Once you've done that, allow yourself to lengthen your tailbone out so your back is flat to the floor, and bring your hands alongside your body, palms face down, ready for bridge pose. And take a breath, curl the tailbone away from the floor and lift the hips towards the sky. First round, we're just going to come into a straightish line between the knees, the hips, and the shoulders. Inhale the hands up towards the sky. And use the exhale to drop the hands down to the floor behind us. We'll take a breath there and then allow the spine to peel down to the floor. Slowly over a long breath. Inhale the hands back up to the sky, down alongside the body as we exhale. Take that again, lifting a little higher this time. We'll take a breath in. Use the exhale to tuck the tailbone away and start to lift the hips towards the sky. This time we're going to press the hips a little higher, squeeze the knees together, and press the knees forwards a little bit so we really feel the whole of the gluteal muscles engage, as well as the thighs and the hamstrings. Then we can take the hands up towards the sky, still squeezing the legs together and pointing them forward. That's the tricky bit. Letting the hands drop to the mat behind, taking a breath. And then keeping the legs working, we're going to roll the spine down to the floor. It's pretty hard to keep those legs to feel like they're working. They kind of roll back with you. Hands come high alongside the body. Take another breath. On the shoulders underneath a little more. Allow ourselves to curl the spine up from the floor. We're going to press the hips as high as we can. Wiggle the shoulders underneath as we draw the chest towards the chin. Press those knees forward. Bring the hands together underneath the back of your body, interlacing your hand. So pressing your little finger and your forearms and your elbows down into the ground, along with the back of your shoulders. Last breath in. And we'll release our way back down. Yourself to take the block high in the back of your head again. Wiggle your toes and heels to the center line. And draw your left knee in towards your body. Take your hands around the back of your hamstring. And extend your leg up towards the sky, straight as you can above your hip. Foot flex, toes down. Use your toes of your right foot to slide your heel out towards the end of the mat. Make sure you get to a point where it's easier to just slide the heel along the sticky mat. Press out through both heels. At the same time, try and press the hips down into the floor. Draw your belly down that way as well. Bring the foot down to the ground. Slide the right leg back in. Draw the knee towards the body. Take the hands around the shin. And again, we're going to lift up slowly. We're going to use the toes, left foot to walk out. And eventually you'll be able to slide the heel out to straightish legs. We'll bring that foot down to the floor as well. We'll draw both knees in towards the body. Get the knees wide. We'll come into happy baby. So we'll feed the hands down the inside of the shins. Grab the hands over the bootlaces towards the little toe. Extend the soles of the feet directly towards the sky above your knees. And then rest your body down to the floor. Try and draw your tailbone down to the ground. Or if that's not working for you, try and press your tailbone towards the front of the mat. It'll do the same thing, get you a little closer to the ground or flatter back. And then not forgetting that the neck sometimes sort of lifts as well. So just bring your chin back in towards your throat a little bit. So you've got that nice long back of the neck. It's not feeling crowded back there. Release the feet to the floor. Gently, closer to the body. Allow ourselves to use the toes to walk the feet out to the edges of the mat. and then towards the front of the mat. Again, you get to that point where you can slide the heels out. The toes roll out to the side so the legs open fully. Let the hands come out about a ruler's distance from your body. Let the shoulders sink into the ground. Let the whole of your body just start to sink, yielding with every exhalation, a little closer to that point of total relaxation where your mind and your body and your breath are slowed down and soft and relaxed. Let the tongue just drift away from the roof of the mouth and check your jaw is soft. Breathe. Into stretch the fingers and toes. Breathing a little deeper, we can begin to gently move the wrists and the ankles. And your body feels a little more connected. Allow yourself to stretch out in any way that feels good to you. Just follow your instincts, whatever you feel you need, just keeping it soft and gentle. And try not to overtax the muscles. We want to keep these really soft movements. Let the hands come back down by the side of the body and slide the heels or leg at a time in towards you. So the knees can come high and drop in towards your body with the gentlest of final hugs.
Just stirring and rocking, whatever feels good. Just gentle, small movements with the breath. Eventually, when you're ready, allow ourselves to roll onto the right side of the mat. And use the hands to press into the floor to lift on the exhale, back up to sitting. Sitting tall, moving towards your heart. Close your eyes, let your chin drop as you begin a slow exhalation. As you find your body drawn to the ground, allow yourself to seal your practice with this bow. On the inhale, let the body lift with your breath. And so it's easy to lift your head, open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening on the mat. Hope to see you again soon. Take care for now.